Hey everybody, this is Justin Wilson here. I wanted to do a video on some of the things that I do to just about every Mikrotik that I pull new out of the box. These are some kind of best practices for myself that I've done over the years. Some of this stuff can be automated through various processes, but I'm just doing this video to kind of show you some of the things you should be doing with your Mikrotiks. Now, depending on where the Mikrotik's going to go, if it's going to a tower site, if it's going to a customer home, if it's a wireless AP, whatever, most of these will apply just because they are general things. As usual, networking is kind of a lot of philosophy, so you may or may not do these things, but these are things that I've found over the years that kind of work for me. So let's just kind of get to it. On my desk here, I have a little HAP light, and so let's go and log into this guy. And one of the things I typically do is I will remove this default configuration here. The default config is pretty nice, especially for a home user environment, because it's already set up, a DHCP server. It's already set up NAT rules, firewall rules, quite a bit of stuff. So if this isn't going for a home user, I always remove the default config, and sometimes even if it is going for a home user, I'll go ahead and remove it. So since we removed the default config, it kicked us out. Sometimes you may have to just close out a Winbox and re-log in. So let's log in. Now, one of the first things I do is I usually upgrade my router OS. Now, various companies that I do work for, we have different policies and different router OS versions that, hey, every router out there has this version until we go to upgrade. So this can vary a little. Some of them, we're on what they call their long term. Some are current. It just depends. It depends on the setup. It depends on what the network is doing, what bugs are in the router OS. It's a lot of its experience. Now, there's multiple ways to upgrade the router OS, and there's all kinds of videos out there on how to do this. But for my setup here, you can see I have two Ethernets active at the moment. Ether 4 is where my laptop is plugged into, and that's how we're into the Mikrotik here. Ether 2 goes to my home switch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to IP, and I'm going to go to DHCP client, and I'm going to add a DHCP client on that Ether 2. So as you can see, I have an address on my home network here. So this router is able to get out onto the internet. Quick and dirty way. So now we'll go to System, and we'll go to Packages. Excuse me. And we'll do check for updates. For this setup, I'm just going to upgrade to the latest greatest version. So I'm just going to do download for now. And the reason I'm doing that is I want to do a couple extra steps to save me a couple minutes when I'm doing a reboot. So as that's downloading, let's go to IP and let's go to services. And we're not using the API, so we're going to turn those off. Telnet should almost always be off, unless you're, have a reason for FTP. Turn that off. www. I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. So right now I just have Winbox and SSH. Now, since I don't know where this router is going, I can't add a management network to kind of lock down these services. So I'm just going to leave them open for the moment. This router is not going into production, so I'm not too worried about it. But just turning off these services can solve you some headache. So now, you remember when I talked about a minute or so about saving a reboot? One of the things I like to do is turn off some of the unneeded packages. So we'll go back to system and we'll go back to packages. And I'm not going to be running a hotspot on this particular router. Most of the time, for the stuff that I'm doing, hotspots are not. So I'm going to go ahead and just disable that. This is a wireless router, so I'm going to leave wireless enabled on just about every Mikrotik, whether it has a wireless card or not. The wireless package is enabled, so just turning that off is it helps with bug interaction. It helps with freeing up some resources. So if you have a Mikrotik router that does not have wireless, go ahead and turn that off. I'm going to go ahead and turn on IPv6. Pretty much any deployment I'm doing these days, I'm either in the process of doing IPv6, it is an IPv6 enabled network, or it's coming soon. So by having those off, to enable or disable these, it requires a reboot. So we've saved a reboot by downloading our current upgrade file and turning off those and turning on a package. So we're just going to go ahead and reboot this guy. And this will take a minute or so to actually go through the upgrade process. So we can kind of wait for it to show up in neighbors here. And while we're waiting on that, there's a couple other things we're going to do to this router just to kind of get it to a point where we could maybe hand it off to a client, hand it off to a tech to say, hey, this has our base image on it, so to speak, and be able to have them not spend time in the field doing this stuff. Now, on some networks, we'll give this to maybe a junior tech or some of the level 1 techs to do during downtime or whatever. So we'll go and log back in, and just to verify, we are on 644. We're going to go back to system and packages. And hotspots disabled. The rest of this is enabled. Again, this all depends on where you think it might be going. If this is on a home network, you're probably going to want to disable MPLS, things like that. But no big deal there. So now one of the things I like to do, just so I don't forget it, is I'll go to System and Users. I'll create me a user, and give it a password. So we're just going to do temp 1234 for now. 234. If you want to see what's going on, you can go up here to settings and hide our password, or go to that here, and then it will, as we type it in. What's going on here? Interesting. Okay. Anyway, we should have been able to see our password by unchecking that hide password. So interesting. Temp 1234 is our password. 1234. We're going to do tech, and we're going to make that a full user. So now I can disable my admin user. So now since this guy is online, I can, through our DHCP client, it is technically online. So it is technically able to be hacked. And now I'm behind a NAT router and that sort of thing. But, it could be hacked. So by setting that password, that just gives you a little bit of extra security. So now, you can, since this is a wireless router, I'm going to go ahead and enable the wireless LAN. Sometimes folks forget that, so that's usually a best practice. Other than that, there's not a whole lot I'd like to do in the base config. Now, there's all kinds of stuff we can config that should be configured once this is a production router. Things like our NTP client, IP addresses, putting interfaces and bridges, all kinds of stuff. But by doing this quick couple minutes like this, it can save a lot of time and frustration. You have kind of a base config. You don't have to spend time upgrading it out in the field when you may not have internet, that sort of thing. So that's just a quick and down and dirty video on some things I do on the Mikrotik. Comments, questions, please subscribe. Thank you for watching.